Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Marketplace. Coming up, Ghana's civil society cocoa platform predicts that the country will record its lowest cocoa output in over 2 decades in the upcoming cocoa season.
Illegal mining activities have severely damaged cocoa farmlands, threatening the lives and livelihoods of farmers.
Also coming up, we assess the economic plans of the various political parties as they hope to sway voters ahead of the December polls. My name is Darryl Kwan. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. First up, the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform is predicting that the country will record its lowest cocoa output in over 2 decades in the upcoming cocoa season. This, according to the group, is particularly due to illegal mining activities and overall impact of climate change on the sector. There's more in this report from a press conference held in Accra ahead of the 2024-2025 farm gate price announcement.
Global cocoa production has been on the decline in recent years, partly due to climate change and disease. In Ghana, the situation is no different, with the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform predicting the country's lowest cocoa output in over 2 decades for the upcoming season. Speaking at a press conference in Accra, the group forecasted production to be slightly above 500,000 metric tons, a level comparable only to the 2002 and 2003 cocoa season. Francis Tenor, a member of the group and president of the Macron Cocoa Farmers Association, highlighted illegal mining activities as one of the challenges contributing to this decline.
Ghana is set to experience its lowest cocoa output in over 2 decades, with production expected to be slightly about 500,000 metric tons, comparably only to the 2002-2003 cocoa season. The 2023-2024 cocoa season was marked by significant challenges that affected and continue to affect farmers and the broader cocoa industry in Ghana. Illegal mining activities have severely damaged cocoa farmlands, threatening the lives and livelihoods of farmers and dependents. Unfortunately, no clear pragmatic strategies have been proposed to tackle this problem, which threatens the very survival of the cocoa industry.
With higher expectations ahead of the new farm gate price announcement later this month, the group is also calling on authorities to support licensed local cocoa buying companies to prevent their collapse and keep them competitive with foreign companies.
The problem we had last year was that government couldn't get the syndication loan on time. So they asked the international companies to support in purchasing the cocoa. But those local companies like Fedco, Cocoa Merchant, Abrabopa, and all those companies, they don't have any big brother anywhere. So they had no money to buy the beans. What they decided to do was to go to the commercial bank to borrow at an exchange. I mean, you know the interest rate between 25 to 32% in Ghana, and that is not competitive. And so that is the problem. That's the issue we are emphasizing. That it is good that Cocoa Board wants to redo what they did last year, ask the big brothers to support, but we are throwing caution that in doing so, if steps are not put in place, then we stand a risk of collapsing the local buying companies, which will be problematic, because when you go to the very, very villages, the deep villages, these cargills and others are not there. It is these small local companies that are buying from the farmers. And so if there is no money for them to buy, then what will happen? They will connive with people, and then they will take it to our neighbors to sell.
Despite a predicted 65 to 70% rise in the farm gate price of cocoa for the 2024 and 2025 season, the survival of the sector continues to be threatened by the numerous challenges facing cocoa farmers in the country. Meanwhile, the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform, an independent campaign and advocacy group comprising of all major stakeholders in the cocoa industry, say they will remain committed to fighting for better policies and demanding improvement in the livelihoods of farmers across the country.
All right, Dr. Daniel Martini is Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development. He joins us on Zoom. Good afternoon to you. So we are in a quagmire, are we not? I mean, we're already dealing with the impacts of climate change, and now we have to think about illegal mining. How troubling is this predicament we are in?
Thank you very much. To me, this is a very critical and a serious issue which ought to be addressed holistically by political leadership. As it stands now, not only because illegal miners are exploiting the farmlands that are supposed to be used for expansion of cocoa production. That is one aspect of it. Mm-hmm. The second aspect is that the quality of our cocoa beans will be affected because of the minerals used in the illegal activities. So in the near future, as it stands, what it will mean that people may not prefer our cocoa beans. They may resort to that of Cote d'Ivoire and other countries. And as it stands now, China is, devising ways to produce cocoa. And it is time for us to rather look at how we can increase productive capacity, and our inability to fight the Galamsey menace is a national political failure, I'll put it that way. And I'm of the view that ought to be taken seriously by political leadership, because look, cocoa alone contributes about 3% of our GDP. And it gives us about $2 billion annually in USD. So if that sector is not considered and pragmatic measures are not taken to address the illegal mining, what it means is that in the near future, we won't be losing on this revenue that comes on board to support economic development. Also, it will affect the earning capacity of the farmers, and that will overall affect our economic growth. As it stands now, we are even struggling to be able to manage our macroeconomic fundamentals. So cocoa being the major contributor in terms of our total export earnings, if it is out of the equation, or if the total earnings has reduced, then what it means is that we may find difficulty in terms of raising revenue to be able to address developmental issues within the domestic economy. So it's a very serious issue that ought to be considered or taken as a national security issues, and all arsenals must be brought on board to address the menace.
Well, I mean, you've talked about some of the economic implications if we don't do something about this current situation, but it doesn't appear that the authorities are bothered, at least if you look at how the issue of illegal mining is being tackled.
Yes, certainly true. It is because we have political actors participating in that particular space, and it is a notorious fact that most of the actors within this illegal sector support political parties. So that political will is not there to be able to aggressively address the issue. I was so enthused initially when His Excellency the President announced that he's going to put his political leadership on the line to ensure that we address this devastating menace. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that. And anytime government is finding it difficult to address a particular issue, the key contributor is political actors supporting political powers with their finances are key in that particular space. And anytime they are key in that particular space, you will see that government will lack that political leadership to be able to address the issue or fight that particular menace. So basically, it is because we know there are political actors in this illegal mining activity or business, and that's the reason which government is finding it difficult to fight. My view is that it is not anything that is outside the jurisdiction of government, within the power of government. If government should exercise that political will, it should be able to address this within the shortest possible time.
Right. I mean, that press conference we just saw was held in anticipation of the announcement of new farm gate prices. Now, we know that most of the farmers have had to lease their farms for illegal mining because they don't find cocoa farming lucrative now. And so that is also an issue to tackle. How do we ensure farmers are getting fair prices that they are happy about, that gets them to want to continue with the cocoa farming?
Yeah, I think the best approach is to motivate the farmers, give them a very juicy package in terms of the pricing, to motivate them to stay continuing in cocoa production, and also try to see if they can salvage the land. I know that government over the period has invested into the cocoa farming in terms of giving them certain incentives, but we are getting to a point, coupled with climate change issues, galamsey. So government should take it as a project, as a necessary project, and by way of giving the farmers a very good package that will induce the farmers, that will motivate the farmers to go into production, as against illegal mining or giving out their lands for illegal mining. If indeed we know, and the data, cocoa has been a major contributor to Ghana's GDP, then it ought to be looked at as a national issue, and by that, certain incentives ought to be given to the farmers in terms of capacity, in terms of latest agricultural practices, and also financial package that will motivate them to go into full-scale production of cocoa beans.
Do you think the regulator, Cocoa Board, is doing enough to ensure that, we are at our best when it comes to cocoa production?
I might say they are trying, but to my mind, they have to scale up in terms of ensuring that we have a large-scale production of cocoa, and also motivating the farmers to be able to increase productive capacity. So to answer you in a very simplistic manner, they are doing well, but not at the optimal level that will ensure optimal production capacity.
Where do we go from here in terms of policy? We are headed to the elections, a new government may be in place. In terms of fighting the galamsey menace, where do we go from here?
I think all the political leadership, being His Excellency the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, or His Excellency the former President John Mahama, they should see this as a national project. Because look, apart from even the cocoa production, we are losing our water bodies. It will get to a time we'll have to import water into this country to be able to meet our needs. And what it means is that we'll be spending more on foreign exchange, and taking into consideration the recent exchange regime. If this thing should add on in the near future, then I'm afraid our economy will eventually collapse. So it should be seen as an emergency issue, national emergency issue, and they must employ all legitimate arsenals within the confines of the law to make sure that we holistically and aggressively address this particular issue.
This is definitely an emergency. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Martini, Executive Director, Policy Initiative for Economic Development. Thank you so much for your time. You're watching The Marketplace. Up next, Business and Politics. Well, the countdown is on to the 2024 December polls. We are barely 3 months away. The MPP manifesto, NDC manifesto, and the Allen Vision and Plan for Ghana each present distinct visions for the future of Ghana, though they share some common objectives in key areas such as economic transformation, industrialization, agriculture, healthcare, education, governance, infrastructure development, and social welfare. However, there are notable differences in their approaches, priorities, and the specific initiatives they propose. The GTP, or the Great Transformation Plan, is more forward-looking and broader in its approach, whilst the MPP and NDC manifestos address more immediate concerns and include a wider range of social and environmental policies. Let's bring in Professor Williams Wipra, who is Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University. You have been looking into the manifestos of these three political parties. First of, what are the common objectives that you find as relates to the economy?
Good afternoon, Daryl, and good afternoon to your viewers. So, as you mentioned, I started looking at the manifestos of these parties, political parties, and how they seek to address challenges ahead of Ghana and the current one that they face. You could see that all these three parties were able to identify from their perspective the major issues. The economy is one, how to get Ghana to move on in terms of production. So they are focusing on industrialization. They are also focusing on a change in the structure of Ghana's economy. So agriculture is a key factor for all of them. The health sector is also a major concern, and they try to find ways to improve it. Education also comes on top. A governance issue, leadership in terms of how they fight corruption is also a major concern. Industrialization or infrastructural development, our energy needs because of the doom-sop politics is also a factor, and then also how they attend to social welfare needs. If you look at it very carefully, these teams cut across all the manifestos, but their various implementation strategies differ. So that is the key thing that I found in looking at their manifestos.
And how do they differ in terms of approach, in terms of specific initiatives, and in terms of priorities?
I mean, so if you take the economy, for instance, the New Patriotic Party wants to transform especially when it comes to the economy. The NPP and NDC are looking at job creation for the economy. The NPP is trying to use a reduction in taxation to stimulate employment growth. The NDC is trying to use the productive approach, which is the 24-hour economy. And then the GTP, or that is Alliance agenda, is focusing on industrialization to come out with job creation agenda. So these are some of the areas that they differ. The nitty-gritties of how each system will work. I mean, all of them have a nice write-up in their documents. We only have to see what has been used in the past to solve economic challenges and create employment. We know taxation can lead to reduction in taxes can cause companies to produce more, but what we know is that generating high employment rate is not as trying to double your production with the NDC approach. Industrialization is key. So if you look at the Alliance agenda, talking about the great transformation with mechanized industrialization system in agriculture, with the aim to also employ more people. So the differences are also seen there. The other areas of differences that I noticed, there were a lot of similarities between the NPP and NDC's manifesto, but there are some areas that Alliance manifesto did not touch on. Both NPP and NDC focus on digital economy. Alliance manifesto is silent on digital economy. Affirmative action, this was also missing in Alliance manifesto. So we cannot tell what plans they have for women and gender inequalities. The care for the elderly, both NPP and NDC captured it clearly. They have a plan for social intervention. The Alliance manifesto was not able to come out with a specific provision for the elderly. Protection of national security and our borders. Alliance manifesto was missing that aspect, but we could see that in both NPP and NDC's manifesto. The environmental protection and climate issues, Alliance climate resilience was not more comprehensive enough, probably because they are focusing more on agriculture and they know that their plans may have an impact.
All right. I mean, you've been following the economic situation in the country, so let's play a little game. Let's assume you're running for political office to be president of the country. I mean, which of the policies best suit our economic situation? You're allowed to pick from each of the political parties in terms of what you think is best suited.
So, do a mix of the three. The first one, what we need now is how do we address our exchange rate situation, devaluation of the currency. Theoretically, in the books, when you increase production and you improve or increase employment, exports, it will lead to a reduction or appreciation of your currency. So the NDC's 24-hour economy can help. Also, the tax reduction by the NPP can also help in reducing taxes so that companies can produce more. This is also a factor. Alliance transformation agenda requires a lot of work to be done now to be able to address our current situation. So Alliance strategy is more of forward-looking, but it's not addressing the current situation now. So that is where I see a major challenge.
Well, I think I'm going to vote for you any day if you should stand for political office. But finally, do you think that these policies resonate with the business community? We have just a minute.
I mean, with the business, what they want is reduction in taxes. They have been talking about it, and they also want means to also deal with our exchange rate situation. So both parties, and then also create employment. So both parties are trying to come up with policies that will address it. The NPP and NDC manifesto stands tall if you compare that one to Alliance in terms of addressing our current situation.
I think you should really consider standing for the office of the president.
Let's see what the Lord will tell us in the future.
Professor Williams Ripa, thank you so much for your analysis. Great insight there. Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University, Professor Williams Ripa, joined us from the US. Well, so let's turn to other news. Women poultry and livestock farmers in the Upper East region have appealed to government to provide them with incentives to boost their trade. The call was made at the launch of the Women Poultry and Livestock Farmers Association in Bolgatanga, where members identified the high cost of feed and building proper shelter for their animals as major challenges. Correspondent Albert Sori reports.
The Women Poultry and Livestock Farmers Association was formed to mobilize women, young girls, and physically challenged persons in the communities to engage in poultry and livestock production as a business to ensure food and nutrition security and create employment. At the launch of the association at Bolgatanga here in the Upper East region, its president, Teresa Alegmia, said the cost of poultry and livestock feed was a significant burden, making it difficult for the women farmers to maintain their businesses. She also highlighted the need for proper shelter for their animals.
The feed of our poultry is very expensive. To go and even feed the few fowls that you have is not easy. Apart from the feed, sometimes they will hatch. You know, they need to be confined. And not all of us have built a place for their animals and fowls. So even this season, which is rainy season, if you leave them open, they easily die. Myself, I even made this in the guinea fowls. One heavy rain came and cleared all those small one because they came out.
A visit by Joy News to the farm of one of the members of the Women Poultry and Livestock Farmers Association revealed impressive effort and progress. But the owner, Edna Atibila, said the challenges she has faced have made it difficult to achieve the kind of success she desires.
When it comes to the success, there's nothing yet. Because I remember my first birth, because I was new in it, I requested for layers. When they are small, you can't be able to tell whether they are cocks or hens. So when I ordered and they brought them about 100 birds, they were all cocks. So I had to sell them because they were not laying, they were not giving me eggs. I took them to the market and they were buying it as low as 50 Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, they feed alone that I spent the money on. I didn't even break an even. It wasn't good at all.
The women poultry and livestock farmers are calling on the government for support.
We will want the government to support women, especially they will give us in subsidized way, in giving us even the fowls, the smaller ones, if they can support us, because some of them do not have. To afford to buy the chicks self, it is not easy.
Upper East Regional Director of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Alhaji Zakaria Fuseni, assured the women poultry and livestock farmers of his support.
SADEP is into animal production, which includes poultry. So I'm in constant touch with the coordinator, the national coordinator for WOPOLA to benefit. If you look at our annual work plan and budget, we have made provision for such groups.
For now, the Women Poultry and Livestock Farmers Association will have to rely on each other and their personal hard work to succeed as they hope to expand their membership nationwide. For Joy News, Albert Sori, Bolgatanga.
All right, and that's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Our top story is the banking sector recovering from post-DDEP, but asset quality remains a major concern. That's from the Bank of Ghana's monetary policy report. Plus, Shippers Authority, Transport Ministry secure release of 6 Ghanaian cargo trucks in Burkina Faso. myjoyonline.com/business. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Yeah, you're shouting on me.